Hi everyone, Emily here, and today I have for you another Advent calendar unboxing. It is day 9 of Bookmas, but I'm filming on December 5th because I need to be able to film ahead. And then we're also going to have a bookcase tour. So first, let me unbox book 9, or day 9. Hold on here. I'm going to open it. I'm not showing me opening it only because I'm holding my phone. I don't have a tripod. I'm holding my phone in one hand and opening with the other hand. And I'll show it to you when I'm done. All right, this is day 9. Day 9 is Heavenly Caramel. I'm from the Midwest. We say caramel, not caramel. So it's got notes of caramel flavor, so decadent, it's heavenly. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to show you my biggest bookcase. So a couple of notes here that I need to go into. First of all, lighting issues. It is 5:30 p.m. So it is dark out and I don't have a tripod. 2, so that's why lighting might be a little weird. 2, it's a glass bookcase, so I have glass doors on it. And so in order to prop open one door, yes, I have my crock pot that I'm using as as a door stopper because I needed something tall enough and heavy enough to hold open the door. The bookcase itself, I picked up from my parents. Both my parents have passed away, and it was in my parents' house, and it's just a beautiful bookcase. So I grabbed it. And then last final note, if you are new to my bookshelf tours, I just need to tell you something. So one, right now I'm sitting down. When we get to the top shelf, I'll stand up. The camera will probably jiggle because, like I said, I'm holding this in my hand. I'll try to keep the jiggles at a minimum. But to the bottom shelf, I can't sit on the floor. My knees are not the best. So I will do my best to show what's on the bottom shelf, and I'm going to just apologize right now. So without further ado, let's get started. Sorry, I'm looking at the time because I want to join the sprints at 6 p.m. All right, so I'm going to change and stand up. Oof. Sorry about that. I'm going to try not. So on my bookshelf, there we go, focus. So first of all, I've got this Wedgwood, picked that up from my parents. There's a picture, that's my mom and her brother. And when I show that picture to people, people are like, whoa, that's you. No, that's my mom. Or I've had friends say, wait, I thought you were the youngest. I am the youngest. That's my mom. That's not me. Okay, so this is my Shakespeare collection. And I always say, oh gosh, that's a glare. I always say that I'm going to read more Shakespeare, and then it never happens. Like, I live in a college town that does a Shakespeare festival every year. They do 2 Shakespeare plays and then a third play, and I always say, I'm going to go. And it never happens. But here we go. So I've got As You Like It, The Merchant of Venice I have seen at that Shakespeare festival years ago. Merry Wives of Windsor's I've seen. Taming of the Shrew I read, love. My senior thesis paper was on Taming of the Shrew, and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. It actually was originally titled Women's Sexuality as Defined by Men in 4 Plays, and I was going to compare 4 different plays throughout time just to see how women's sexuality was defined, and then I had to narrow my focus. So I did The Taming of the Shrew and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. Twelfth Night, I have not read or seen. Sorry about the glare. These are really like glossy plays. Henry the Fourth, Part 1, I have read that in college. Henry the Fourth, Part 2. Henry the Fifth, good gravy, sorry. King Richard II, Hamlet, I love Hamlet. Love it so much. King Lear, Othello, Troilus and Cressida, and The Tempest. So I kept these plays. I used to have like a complete set of Shakespeare. My dad was a huge Shakespeare fan and had actually like a 5-shelf bookcase double stacked of all Shakespeare plays because he had multiple editions. And so I had like smaller editions of them, but I got rid of them because these actually have like footnotes that help explain some of the language. This is just a little house. My mom used to collect houses, and I really liked this one, so I kept it. Ooh, just a cute little teacup and saucer. We'll move that over. This is a book, I think it was my grandmother's, The Faith of Our Father, as well as the Captain El Capitan. I don't know. I don't speak Spanish, but it was my grandmother's, and it's a grandmother that I've never met, so I'll just save that. Then I've got Shaman's Crossing, Forest Mage, and Renegade's Magic. This is, what series is this? Soldier Sun. It's the Soldier Sun trilogy. I have not read it. It's less liked by her. I started reading it. It's pretty heavy out of the gate with really some pretty heavy themes. So I wasn't in the right headspace for it, but I do need to read this. It's one of my 50 before 50 books. And then I've got His Majesty's Dragon by Naomi Novik. And these are all of the books in that series. Got another Wedgwood piece. Feast of Crows and The Dance of Dragons. So I have that to read. Ooh, I forgot to mention, I've got this cute little cow. So in Chicago in the early 2000s, they did a thing called Cows on Parade. So they had all of these cows all throughout Chicagoland. It was like, I can't remember how many of them there were. But a friend and I, we went up one day and we took pictures with the cows, as many as we could. And then I went up by myself another day and found even more cows. And took pictures of them. And so it was just this kind of thing. I have a whole album of pictures of me and cows. And then I have a few that I've collected. So this is one. Dune, the original, like the first 3 books. I really loved Dune and Dune Messiah. Children of Dune got really weird. This is a little snowman globe. My first job working with adult. Whoa, sorry. I thought my bookshelf was moving there. Maybe I shouldn't lean on it. This is my first job working with adults with disabilities. One of my individuals gave that to me. And then this is a little paper mache bird I got at a craft fair and gave that to my dad. He loved birds. Let's move that over. Okay. And then Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Like I said, my senior thesis was on that. Sense and Sensibility, I really love. And then There Were None, amazing. I read this way back in junior high, actually, but I've read it a couple of times since then. The Yellow Wallpaper, another writings by Charlotte Perkins Gilman. I've read The Yellow Wallpaper in college and wrote a paper on it. Love that story. Lord of the Flies, I student taught that. And absolutely, I think it's just a wild ride. Chaim Potok's The Chosen. It's a book about friendship between 2 Jewish boys growing up in New York. One is Orthodox Jew, one is Hasidic, and they form a very unlikely friendship. The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tam. She was my favorite author in college. And post-college. Like, she just writes just beautiful literature about mothers and daughters and their relationships. Jane Austen, Lady Susan, The Watson Sanditon. Or Sanditon, I don't know how you pronounce it. I have not read that one yet. Emma, I read it. It was good. It was not my favorite by her. All right, now we're going to scroll on over to shelf number 2. Okay, and then we've got Northanger Abbey. Really enjoyed that. Persuasion, it's my favorite by her. That's Pride and Prejudice, also love. This is a beautiful copy. Daguerreotype, love that. This Jane Eyre, look how beautiful that copy is. So this, if you saw my December TBR one or Pile Possibilities, I have a Little Women edition, and the same publisher that did my Little Women edition did Jane Eyre. You can see It's not as beat up as My Little Women. I have read this. I've read it maybe twice, but clearly not as much as I have read Little Women. Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man by James Joyce. I read that in college, really enjoyed it. To Kill a Mockingbird, I mean, classic. How could you not love it? Read that, of course, freshman year of high school. It seems like that's when you read it. Davita's Harp, My Name is Asher Lev. Those are two books also by Hayam Potok. This one has a sequel. I just don't have it. He was my favorite author in high school. After I read The Chosen in the 8th grade. The Promise, this is the sequel to The Chosen and follows them in college. Mansfield Park. Okay, so I have to back up and explain kind of how I have this things organized. So the books that I just talked about, those are all my read classics. Now we're going into unread classics. That's kind of strange, I know, but it helps me to see like what have I read, what have I not read. Okay, this is just a little mug that I got at a Chris Kindle Market in town nearby, Chicago area. Mansfield Park, I have not read. I don't like Fanny Price. I've seen movie adaptations and I just don't like her. So I've kind of put reading this off, but I need to read it. Villette by Gustave Flaubert. Or, sorry, why did I say Gustave Flaubert? I don't know why. It just sounds French. Charlotte Bronte, The Good Earth by Pearl Buck. My Antonia, I have not read. Another Wedgwood piece, which I already showed, sorry. Another daguerreotype or whatever they're called. Christmas Carol, I've read Christmas Carol, but not the other stories. The Brothers Karamazov, Middlemarch, I really want to read this. I've been wanting to read this for like 20 years now, since the PBS version of the adaptation came out. Test of the Dubervilles, Thomas Hardy, have not read. Wings of the Dove by Henry James. Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome. I've heard good things about this from other booktubers, and I bought it for Victober, and I clearly did not read it. The Woman Warrior by Maxine Hong Kingston. I read some selections from this for my History of Women's Literature class. Rudyard Kipling by The Jungle Book. I've heard that Robin Hobb took inspiration from The Jungle Book for Realm of the Elderlings, so I'm just curious on that. A Separate Piece by Jonathan Knowles. The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Heard I like post-apocalyptic literature, so Bel Canto by Ann Patchett. I've heard really phenomenal things about this. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. Okay, I read The Pearl by John Steinbeck in the 8th grade. We had to. I hated it. I did really enjoy Of Mice and Men, so I'm kind of hesitant. And I also grew up seeing East of Eden on TV all the time. And I mean, I was too young to be watching it. Just the themes of it, I was in elementary school. The themes of it, I was too young. So I've been hesitant to read it, but I need to. Another little mug from the Chris Kindle Market. War and Peace by Tolstoy. Maybe this summer. I keep saying I'm going to read it. Slaughterhouse-Five. I don't know why this is in the unread. I think I put it in the unread because I want to reread it. But I read that in college and I loved it. The Picture of Dorian Gray. I keep meaning to read this. I'm not going to... Oh, let me show you this. This is a stained glass. My father was kind of like a Renaissance man. And so he did all sorts of things, and stained glass was one of them. And so... But he kind of gave it up later in life. But so we all took a piece of stained glass when we broke up our parents' estate. This I need to look through more. But this is a smash book from, I think, my great aunt Catherine. The Divine Comedy by Dante Alighieri. This is a translation by Longfellow. And I do believe that this is... If I can open this safely. What is the bag? Hold on. Oh, shoot, I just dropped it. Let's go on an adventure. What did I drop? I've never seen this before. So that's an advertisement for another book. And look at when this advertisement is from. Okay, so I thought at one point in time, so that's interesting that the date on that was from 1902. Sorry, you're getting a whole lot of jiggling around because if I can open this. See, look at that. So, like, I thought that this was an original because this is 1867. Like, that's cool, right? Okay, let me put that down because I need to put that leaf back. Things fall apart. Ooh, this was my like read around the world challenge. I keep saying I'm going to do that challenge. It has not happened. But so Things Fall Apart for Read Around the World. Elena Ferrante, The Story of a New Name. That's book 2 in My Brilliant Friend, or the Neapolitan series. I need to read book 1. Ulysses by James Joyce. I do want to read that book. Stream of Consciousness and I, we don't get along too well. I have a hard time with it, but it was my father's favorite book. And my father never gave us books off of his own bookshelf. And there was one time I was talking with him, I was like, yeah, I do want to read Ulysses at some point in time. And he said, hold on. And he went to one of his bookcases and grabbed this off the shelf and gave it to me. So even if I don't ever read it, I will never get rid of that book. Because like I said, my father just did not give gifts and did not give books off his shelf. Ulysses and Us, just kind of like how it impacts our lives. The Satanic Verses by Salman Rushdie. The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. My favorite book of all time. I've read that numerous times in junior high and high school. So, all right, now we're going to try not to jiggle so much as I sit back down. I've got to put that book back. Oh, I don't like that. Hold on. There we go. Okay. I'm so sorry. I did not mean to do all sorts of jiggling, but here we go. What is that? Joan Didion, The Year of Magical Thinking. I do want to read that. I've heard it's beautiful. I think I need to be in the right headspace for that. Reading Lolita in Tehran. I did read that, and I found that free at my high school's library. And I've never stopped thinking about it ever since I've read it, so I do want to reread it. Dante's Inferno, it's a modern translation. The Complete Works of Shakespeare, or not Complete Works of Shakespeare, Complete Works of Sherlock Holmes. My father also gave me those copies off of his bookshelf, and like my father was a huge Sherlock Holmes fan. Like he was part of a Sherlock Holmes discussion group, and he had like a whole 5 he had a whole, like maybe a whole 5 shelf bookcase full of double stacked full of Sherlock Holmes editions, along with it being stacked on the floor next to it. And then they would do like win prizes, and that was one of the prizes that they won. So of course I had to put it by there. The Bookseller of Kabul, got that free. The Age of Madness by Joe Abercrombie, I still need to read. There is a Little Bear. I got that from the twins, 2 twin girls when I taught preschool, Sunday school. Here is some fantasy that I have not read yet. So Senlin's Ascends and Foundry Side. Senlin's Ascends by Josiah Bancroft, Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett. I was very good and said, I am not going to buy the rest of the series until I read those 2. That is the rest of the Memoirs of Lady Trent. Dark Age by Pierce Brown. I got a good deal on it. I have not read The Mask of Mirrors, Liar's Knot, or Labyrinth's Heart, but I've heard phenomenal things about it. And come on, let's look at this cover. Stunning. Need to read. A very cool black Wedgwood piece. The Daevabad trilogy, along with River of Silver. Another mug from a German market. I'm missing book 4, but that's okay because I need to read Leviathan's Wake. I have not started The Expanse. I need to. And then that cow from Cows on Parade, that one was outside of the Museum of Science and Industry. And I never got to see it because I didn't make my way there because it's not near like downtown Chicago area. But I thought it was super cool, so of course I had to get it. And of course I'm going to put it by my sci-fi books, right? Then I've got Witch's Heart, which I still need to read. Is there a book there? No. The Shadow of the Gods, I still need to read. Wool, Shift, and Dust, still need to read. Another Snowman. Oh, there went something from my shelf. A Hummel, books 1 and 2 of the Lycanus trilogy. A Discovery of Witches. I love this trilogy. And this, sitting in front of this, it looks like a weird little carrot, but there's a little note that says that this is what they would use in a children's hospital, instead of IVs, because there was not IVs at the time. So they use this to feed. It's a feeder used in the old Foundling Hospital. Okay. This is The Inheritance. There's a university bookstore up in Washington where Robin Hobb will travel from Alaska to occasionally, and she'll do signings of books. So she signed this book. And so she also writes as Megan Lindholm, and she writes sci-fi. I did read one story in there, and it was a little weird. There is a Realm of the Elderlings story in there, so I do need to read this. Now, and here is my Realm of the Elderlings. It's just beautiful. I don't have Assassin's Apprentice here because I'm halfway through a reread. There's Wise Man's Fear, which is book 2. But so I want to talk about why I put these little houses. Again, my mother used to collect houses, and my aunt lived in Europe, and so gave some of them to my mom. This one just kind of reminded me a cottage that Molly or Fitz might live around Buckkeep area. Same thing with this one. More so the cottage that he might have lived in during the beginning of the Tawny Man trilogy. Another Chris Kindle Market mug. This one reminded me kind of that Withy Woods would look like, so that's why it's closer to the last trilogy. And then I have a little crochet bee that I found that goes with that last trilogy. This is another super cool book. Oh, if I could pull it off the shelf. But that's Childe Harold's Pilgrimage by Lord Byron, 1841. How cool is that? And I got that. That was from my parents' house. So I said, I want that. I'm going to keep it. Okay, book 3 in the Lycanus trilogy. 5th season, still need to read. The Spear Cuts Through Water, still need to read. The Stand, still need to read. This is from my parents. I have actually used this as a wallet before, in a purse. It is tarnished, I'm sorry, but I think this was a cigarette case. Go figure, people used to smoke. But look how cool that is. So, like I said, I do need to clean it. I thought that Cow and Parade was cool. Grace of Kings, Wall of Storms, still need to read them. 3 Body Problem trilogy, still need to read. I pulled out Lies of Lochmore because I was supposed to read it this year. It did not happen, and then I have the rest of that series. Ruin of Kings, I was like, okay, we're going to only buy the first book. We're not going to buy the other books. I need to make sure I like them. Uprooted, I'm toying with, do I want to keep that book or not? I've heard not the best things about it, so I'm toying with it. But I got it dirt cheap, and it's a brand new spanking condition. So The Folding Knife by K.J. Parker, I've been told if I want to read him, I should start there. I've heard he's popular among some booktubers. A Declaration of the Rights of Magicians, I've heard good things about that. Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, have yet to start that. Starry Nights by Van Gogh, I put it by a couple of sci-fi, Children of Time, which is a sci-fi. Made sense. Crystal Cave by Mary Stewart, I heard she's kind of one of the big ones to read if you're interested in Arthurian legend. So there's that. Michael J. Sullivan, Children of Time, I still need to read that one. I've had that. That one came from a recommendation from the first BookTube Besties virtual retreats, and I still have yet to read it. And we've got some Adrian Tchaikovsky books. Those two I got dirt cheap, so how can you pass that up? Okay, and now here's where things get tricky. That's another Michael J. Sullivan. It's separated from the other one only because of spacing issues and how things fit. Rage of Dragons, still need to read. That book there, don't know if you can tell, but that one is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and I loved that book. Winter Night Trilogy, it's a beautiful fantasy that deals with what happens when like organized religion or Christianity meets like folk religion, and also fairy tales, and it's just I just loved it. Bookshops and Bone Dust I enjoyed, but for sure not as much as Legends and Lattes. And I'm sorry, I really want a stuffed animal version of Thimble because Thimble is fantastic. Undertaking of Heart and Mercy has a beautiful cover. I'm not going to pull it out because I don't want to do any more jiggling of my camera, but you should check out that. If you like romance and if you like You've Got Mail, you should read it. Yes, there is fantasy elements in there, but it's not like heavy fantasy. And I think it's pretty accessible for those who don't read fantasy. Then there's the first book in A Natural History of Dragons. The illustrations are just stunning and gorgeous. Kindred, it's loosely sci-fi in that there's time travel, but I would say it's more historical. And it's phenomenal. It's probably the only book that I've liked by Octavia E. Butler. Yes, I've said that. Swordcatcher by Cassandra Clare. I was shocked by how much I enjoyed it, and I'm so looking forward to book 2 coming out next year. The Greenbone Saga, Jade City, Jade War, Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This was so good. So good. And like I don't like karate movies or kung fu movies. I don't like mafia movies, but it just worked for me. That little heart I made for my mother for Mother's Day back when I was in elementary school, and I still have it. Song of Achilles, I was pleasantly. I loved that book a lot. Time Traveler's Daughter by Audrey Neffinger. That one I read when the movie came out in 2009. And I read that in the fall of 2009. And I love that book. Now, I know some people are a little kind of like, he meets her because he's a time traveler. He meets her when she's a kid, but he's an adult. Because again, time traveler. But it's like, time is a loop kind of thing. So it's kind of weird. So some people are kind of icky by that. But the sense of longing and loss and wanting to go back to the time when you had with people and going back to the past and reliving those memories, I just so identified with. Because I was reading that book when my mother was dying from cancer. And so that I think that's one of the reasons why I love that book is like, yep, you get it. You get what I'm feeling right now. Kaikai by Vaishnavi Patel. It's a retelling of a text of a Hindu text, and it takes the perspective that the bad female in that text maybe really wasn't all that bad. And I actually got to participate in a Zoom interview with the author. Like I wasn't doing the interview, I was just kind of watching, and the girl was brilliant. Black Sun and Fevered Star. I loved Black Sun. Easy 5-star read for me. Fevered Star was good. So I do need to read Mirrored Heavens, and I just kind of have put that off. Loved The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Elantris. Okay, hot unpopular opinion, but I thought Elantris was fantastic. I really loved the discussion of politics and religion in it. Mistborn Trilogy, I'm kind of bummed that I did not know about the UK editions or how to get the UK editions when I bought the Mistborn Trilogy, because it's all annotated now, and I'm not going to buy the UK editions just to match, because I'm trying not to have multiples of books, but those rocks there, I had a friend, like, my high school, we took, like, European tours, like band, orchestra, and choir. we took turns, and so she was in orchestra, and they went to Slovakia over spring break. That was one of the countries, and I'm half Slovak, so she brought those back for me. Warbreaker, I enjoyed. I really liked the Alloy of Law. I thought it was fun. So those are the first 3 books: Way of Kings, War of Radiant, Words of Radiance. Amazing. Inkblood, Sister's Scribe, I thought was very good and enjoyable. And then the last book that you can't really see too well because it's in the shadows is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young, which I really enjoyed. And it's like, if you're looking for a fall read next year, that is a perfect fall read. It's like set in the fall, that like the island is just so descriptive, and it's almost like the island is another character. Whew, that is it. It is way longer because, like I said, this is one of my biggest bookshelves. And I'm going to end this here. Of all the books that you have seen, have you read any? What did you like? What did you not like? And is there anything on my shelves that you think I should prioritize? Have a wonderful day and happy reading.